Greetings shippers, welcome back, and it's time for another episode of Fic Rec Friday, and this week is the highly anticipated Femslash week. You all asked for it, and here it is. Femslash. Nothing but Femslash. I'm also excited to announce that in honor of Femslash week, this video is sponsored by Alternity Cosmetics. Specifically this week, I'm showcasing the shade Femme Fatale. I have worked with Alternity before. They sponsored me a little while back on Halloween so that we could do our really cool cosplay look. So check that out if you haven't already. It involved duct tape. It was fantastic. This is a Toronto-based indie brand that is known for making its persona lip paints. These being lipsticks based off of a certain fandom concept. Currently, they're working through their Steampunk collection, but they have plans to go much wider than that. Fae, anime, Desert Wanderer, a whole bunch is coming. And each of their lipsticks is based around a persona, that being a character, as the creator of the brand has very much been inspired by transformative fandom. She got into makeup and fandom when she was younger as a way to cope with her chronic illness and to find an outlet and an escape. As she's aged, she's managed to turn that passion into a business, and yet another example of how fandom, particularly transformative fandom, can really impact your life and the lives of others. Today, I'm wearing the shade Femme Fatale. That's right, it's this very nice red. This is what the packaging looks like. You can see the color at the bottom of the tube. This collection also comes with some very nice steampunk packaging that I did not destroy the packaging like this. The mail carriers opened it before they gave it to me because, fun fact, in Canada, there is a large fear that makeup is being used to smuggle narcotics. So, the more you know. These are very long wearing. They are transfer proof. You can eat in them, and for me, take this with a grain of salt, they're very comfortable. Now, of course, we all have different lips and different levels of comfort of what we can stand on them. But for me personally, I find them comfortable. You know that I love colors like this, so you'll be seeing this again. Red lips for life. This brand is cruelty-free and retails for $22 Canadian and $18 American. The Femme Fatale persona seemed perfect for this video. Just a woman who knows what she wants and goes and gets it. The owner was kind enough to send me an excerpt of the character's backstory, their kind of write-up for her, which was in and of itself inspired by the process and concept of fan fiction. So I'm going to be sharing that with you a little later on. For now, let us get to the recs, which means that we of course have to do our disclaimer. As always, you can expect to see a wide variety of fics on this series. Ships, rival ships, taboos, darkness, fluff, long fics, short fics, everything. And as always, it must be reiterated that this is not a bashing space. One must not assume the intent of the reader, the author, the wrecker when going into this endeavor. And it is not acceptable to seek out anybody for harassment. Different strokes for different folks. If one of the recs sounds like it isn't for you, well then hopefully one of the other ones will. Or one of the many recs that people leave below. All of you leave some wonderful suggestions down there. It must also be known that just because someone makes a recommendation, one cannot discern whether they ship that pairing, care for those characters, or really anything. It's a very fascinating landscape. As always, that was quick lickety split. Be sure to follow on social media if you haven't already to stay up to date, know when we're streaming, and just come on over and chit chat about fandom. It is a good time, I swear. And now, what you've all been waiting for, the Femslash. Here it is. Fic 1 is going to take us over to a fandom that has a special place within Femslash history, and also just within fandom history in general. If there was a ship that you thought of, this show probably had it. We're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer has become iconic both in fandom culture and outside it. Even in academic culture, it is one of the most widely studied TV shows out there. And as always with things that have been around for a long time, discourse around it has shifted and changed. That includes around the dominant and actually canon Femslash pairing of Tara and Willow. However, that is not the ship we are taking a look at today. For as always, there were other ships. One of which was Buffy, the pairing of Buffy and her fellow Slayer, Faith. These two kind of had the antithesis thing going on. Good girl and bad girl. Or rather, good Slayer and bad Slayer. And some people were drawn to so much about it, from their differing, contradictory yet complementary aesthetics, personalities, the way a lot of their interactions could very much be read as flirting, and also what some felt were the gaps in the plot, particularly when it came to Faith. This fic brings a bunch of those things together. It is called Hear No Evil by Zulu. One chapter, word count 18,181. It is a fic working through season 3. Spoilers through the episode Earshot, where it diverges. This deals with a world wherein Faith develops telepathy. All of a sudden, she can read people's minds because demons. And that means that she knows what all kinds of different characters are thinking, and it completely alters the course of her life. And of course, as one can imagine, it leads her straight to Buffy. This one is written very much in a Whedon-y tone, so if one really enjoyed that aspect of the series, you'll enjoy it about this fic. And also because it's written from Faith's perspective, you get a different viewpoint, and you really get to expand on the mindset of Faith, and you get some cute little insights into the other characters as well. It's also a little smutty, so if you're into that, well, there's that too. This really appeals to the fan who felt that Faith could really go a different way if she just had some slightly different circumstances or a bit more understanding. It isn't necessary to know all of the canon to enjoy this fic, but it does help, as it is very much playing with events up to that point. Buffy was one of the larger pairings within the Buffy fandom, and there are a lot of different works that take place around it. And because Faith and Buffy's relationship changed so much as the series went on and eventually concluded, the fics for each era are very different. So it's interesting to go back to the different points in time and see what people were working through. Season 3 Faith is very different from Season 7 Faith, and beyond. Also very different from Angel Faith. Fic 2 is going to take us to an animated verse, and to a series that has been on the air in some form or another since the 60s. We're going to be talking about ScoobyDoo. ScoobyDoo is one of those shows that is a near constant in many people's memories. Most of the time, there is some kind of Scooby-Doo activity happening, be it a new series, reruns, movies, etc. It goes through peaks where it'll be very popular, fade, then something new will happen that will reinvigorate it. This fic comes to us from one of those periods of reinvigoration, that being the series Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, a Scooby-Doo series with a twist in that the monsters were real. It also did a lot more to flesh out the backstories of all the characters, parents, families, more quirks, etc. It also gave fandom a lot of pairings. For this one, we're going to be taking a look at a Velma pairing, but perhaps not the one you think. We have talked about the pairing of Velma and Daphne before on this channel, so if you missed that, check it out. Click the card or the link will be down below. However, that's not what we're going to be discussing today. This fic is called Aftershocks by Steampunk 13,713. It is one chapter, word count 10,411. This is a Velma / Marcy, aka Hot Dog Water fic. It takes place post-series. Spoilers for those who have not seen the series and don't want to know anything. 3, 2, 1. Which means that the gang lives inside of an alternate timeline, which they had to create to get rid of the evil entity's influence on their town and their lives. Now, at the end of Mystery Incorporated, it is quite heavily implied that Velma and Marcy are together, and many fans took that and ran with it, and some were shipping even before that point. This fic is enhanced by having a knowledge of the series, but it can be a rudimentary knowledge. And as with anything, you can just jump in and see where it takes you, and then perhaps go back and enjoy the canon material afterwards. This fic is a bit of a darker one, dealing with the repercussions of having to live inside of an alternate timeline, how that affects you, and how it makes you interact with the people around you, especially the ones who don't know that anything is different. It deals with Velma navigating her relationship with Marcy in this setting, as well as some of the rest of the gang navigating their relationships as well, as this is a multi-pairing fic, but there is a heavy emphasis on Velma and Marcy. It's very integrated and feels ensemble-y, much like the show itself. So in that sense, it very much works. This fic may be on the shorter side, but it works through so much. Highs, lows, fun, sadness, and it just has a lot to offer. If you're interested in checking out this couple and continuing on with the canon and exploring some of the potentially deep issues that could arise from how exactly that series ended, this is the fic for you. Our first two fics could benefit a bit from having some knowledge of backstory or canon from their source materials. For our third fic, that is not necessary. Not really. Fic 3 is going to take us over to the Monster Prom fandom. If you've been following this channel, you know that we have been streaming Monster Prom, and what a glorious time it has been. We should write a nuanced play based on it. Totally not fanfic. Let's cosplay, let's go shirtless. We should write a nuanced play based on it. That's totally not fanfiction, except for the fact that it is. While not overly successful in actually attending the prom with anybody, it's been very fun to see the different characters and all the different scenarios and the frankly very fun, ludicrous writing. This series has quite the active fan base. Pairings abound between all sorts of characters in various combinations, and there are many active roleplays that spring up due to the game's format, and people in this fandom particularly enjoy one-shots, requesting one-shot scenarios with the characters, which is very much in line with the way that the game presents itself, as the series of quick, odd, quirky moments and events that happen to the character and oftentimes the person they are pursuing. As such, many of the fics reflect that. However, that does not mean that there are not dominant pairings or characters that are more likely to be paired together than others. In that vein, one of the more common pairings is Amira, or Red, and Vera, the wonderfully articulate, slightly scary, in control of herself Medusa. Many people feel that the confidence these two characters exude just on pure design alone means that they should be together. And of course, based on their complementary color scheme, some just find them aesthetically pleasing to look at. The fic that we're about to discuss is one of those aforementioned one-shots surrounding this pairing. It is called What If I Told You That the World Was Going to End by Wotan Anubis. One chapter, word count 1077. This fic works through exactly what it says it's going to. The world is about to end. There is a meteor headed straight towards the Earth. It's about to crush it. So Vera has called over Amira so that they can discuss their feelings. But they're not going to discuss them in any angsty way. They're going to discuss them in the way that would be discussed in the game. So this fic is a bit more fun, off the rails, zany, though nowhere near as zany as the game, and offers some PG steamy action. It feels like it could be an aside from the game, and that makes it a lot of fun. It's short, sweet, and another moment with these characters, which is what many people in this fandom want. So check it out. It's a very good entry point to the kind of thing that you can look forward to within this fandom, and can also get you into this pairing, which has a lot of gorgeous fan art. Most pairings have a lot of beautiful art to their name, but Monster Prom's development team have actually encouraged fan art, so there is a lot within this fandom. Fic 4 is a long one, so set some time aside if you're gonna read this one. It takes us to a fandom that is a Femslash darling, where Femslash pairings abound. A fandom where they are equal to, or in some cases dominant to, the het ships or even the male-male pairings, which is a very rare occurrence indeed. But it's also another fandom where you can find pretty much any pairing you can imagine. We're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is a series that may get people side-eyeing you if you attempt to explain exactly what was occurring within it. But for those who were willing to dive in and give it a chance, it could be a lot of fun. It wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but for those who were interested in it, it provided so much. So many crack videos, so many fun ships, so many theories. It was a roller coaster of a series. It had its high points and low points, and definitely declined in quality as it went on, but for the most part, it was always a fun fandom to be a part of. This fandom's dominant pairing was Swan Queen, the pairing of Emma Swan and evil queen Regina Mills. So of course you know that's not what this fic is for. It's never for the dominant ship. Why, SG, why? This fic is called Dragon's Princess by Regal Starlight. 11 chapters, word requires some explanation of backstory for it all to make sense. Within the world of Once Upon a Time, there is the Enchanted Forest, and then there is the Cursed City that said characters inhabit after the dark curse was cast by the evil queen. This fic takes place in a universe where the dark curse was never cast, and so everybody still lived within the Enchanted Forest, which is important because within the canon of the series, Emma Swan is sent ahead through a magical portal to the real world, our world without magic, so that she can be raised there and later come back and be the savior who breaks the curse. If the curse never occurs, that means that Emma gets to grow up as a princess as she was intended to within the Enchanted Forest. That is the first part of the AU. The second part deals with Lily. This is a pairing fic between Emma and Lily. For those who watched the series, they may have noticed that there was a certain tension, a chemistry between Emma and Lily, as they were drawn to each other. It was later revealed that this was because of spoilers. I probably should have said that earlier, but even more spoilers. Those were generic spoilers that you could learn in the first episode. These are season 4 or 5 spoilers. So, spoilers. It was revealed that Emma and Lily were joined because of a curse that Emma's parents had performed when she was young to remove the darkness from her soul and place it onto Lily, essentially cursing her to have terrible luck and make bad decisions. So within this fic, Lily still exists. However, she was not whisked off into land without magic. But she was still cursed. Also, she can turn into a dragon. This fic deals with a world where these two still meet as teenagers as they did in the series, only within the Enchanted Forest, and find themselves drawn to each other, and exactly what that does to all the characters around them, and exactly how it impacts Emma's parents, who were still desperately trying to keep the secret of what they did. It is very interesting, and for those who love Enchanted Forest AUs, this one is very solid. Once Upon a Time lends itself very well to a wide array of AUs, for its own canon is oftentimes built upon the premise of that very thing being possible, so it is unsurprising that there are so many in this fandom. This fic is complicated, and it does benefit one to have seen the series, but it's also working through so much that it's easy to just dive in and embrace it and let it flow over you and see exactly how a princess can fall for a dragon. Good times. The final fic rec from me, Fic 5, takes us over to the anime fandom, a place where many wish that we spent much more time. Perhaps we need an anime Rex week. This fic takes us over to a very popular fandom at the time of this recording, My Hero Academia. There are many pairings going on within this fandom, and there are two jostling for the top spot, which each have a different winner depending if one is in the West or in the East. It's very fascinating. However, we're not going to be talking about those pairings because we're going to be looking at the Femslash. This is a Suchako pairing. This fic is a multi-pairing fic. There is this pairing going on, there is also Tododeku and Kirubaku. This fic is called One by Elope to the Sea. 6 chapters, word count 128,004. This fic is interesting. It deals with the concept of fusion. People being able to fuse together to use their powers as one, similar to a Dragon Ball Z-esque concept, or more recently, Steven Universe. And the people that can end up fusing will have these amazing powers and also get to know each other better and have healthier relationships. The author wrote this to work through stress that they were undergoing in their real life, and they found that the concept of fusion was very calming to them, and hence they wanted to apply it to one of the fics that they were writing, and to these characters. Aside from pairings, this fic also deals with friendship. It feels very organic, and the relationships that the characters have with each other feel very much in tone, pairings and otherwise. If one is a fan of My Hero fics where the characters are very much chatting and getting to know each other, and those more quiet moments, not all quiet, but those more quiet moments that one doesn't always get to enjoy in the series because so much is always happening, so much peril, then this is a fun fic to get into. Fusion is also a very intriguing concept to work through, and something that fiction comes back to again and again and again, so it's always intriguing to see new takes on it. The couples in this fic are adorable, especially Suchako. If you need some anime femslash in your life, specifically from My Hero Academia or just in general, well, this fic is for you. Before we get to our fan rec, as a little bonus, I'm gonna give you Femme Fatale's backstory and the excerpt from her story. I will of course read it dramatically. Femme Fatale. Leave the business to me, Scarlet. It's been a week since I last spoke to my father after hearing those final words that ended our argument. I stewed for days, but no longer can I sit, waiting for an opportunity to prove myself. I could hear my heels clicking along the dock, and I couldn't tell which sound was louder, my steps or my heartbeat. I was going against Father's orders not to interfere, but if I don't do something, we could lose profits this quarter. I need to show Father I know more about the family business than he thinks.
Katori silk. That's what has been in demand, Scarlet. Katori silk, not cotton. More than half the blouses stitched last month are already out of stock.
Father's voice still pierced my memory. Father, fashion is fickle. Yes, Lady Sorrenta came out in a beautiful silk blouse, but that was last fall. The rage will taper off. Only 3 fortnights ago did High Lady Gamoran show off her cotton gown, and I've seen 7 other noblewomen wearing the same cotton attire since. Trust me when I say the demand is for cotton. We must act now.
When the silk arrives, you may choose the colors. Otherwise, leave the business to me, Scarlet.
My pace quickens as I replay the bitter memory. The best cotton is from South Cression, and so I make my way to the merchant who often travels to this region. So that was the first part of Femme Fatale's story, or as you now know she's called, Scarlet. You can find the rest of Scarlet's and the other personas' stories in the product section of Alternity Cosmetics. Each lipstick has a backstory like this, and it just adds an extra layer to them, this extra fun fandom layer, which really appeals to me because I love the concept of meta fandom, you know, things inspired by fandom, inspiring even more fandom. So I'm a huge fan of the fact that the brand owner really hopes that people will use these for cosplay, and specifically to cosplay their characters, but of course any characters that they like. And having backstories like this definitely adds to the appeal. I don't know about you, but I'm invested. I really hope she saves her father's business. So if you're interested in checking out Alternity, I'll have the links down below, and you can of course check it out and peruse for yourself. It is a regular link, non-affiliate link. And of course, if you don't want to, there is absolutely no pressure. Just know that there are brands like this out there. Fandom is out there in so many intriguing intriguing ways. It's amazing to see what fans can do, which of course brings us to the fan rec for this week. Now this was actually rec'd to me way back in the 4th ever Fic Rec Friday, but it took me a while to get through it. I'm so glad I did. This fic was rec'd by B Angels. I would like to recommend an Avatar The Last Airbender Femslash fic that features Katara and Azula. It's very well written and very in character. It's kind of an aftermath fic, with Azula after the war and how she adjusts with the reintroduction of old faces in her life, her status in the Fire Nation while her brother fulfills the role of Fire Lord, and how she finds happiness. I always come back to it and I love it. Check it out. So this fic is Measure Each Step to Infinity by Pax Banana. 22 chapters, word count 200,807. As mentioned, this is a redemption arc for Azula. We've talked about Avatar before on this channel, but specifically about Zutara and later Korrasami. We haven't really touched on some of the side characters, as it were, although it would be a bit of a stretch to call Azula a side character, as she was much more than that, and people really took to her and wanted to know more about her, and she became quite popular within the fandom, and many people did hope for a redemption arc for her, and this fic evidences that perfectly. This fic is so immersive and builds so much upon the world, and people feel so very in character. It sucks you in to the point where sometimes you can imagine that it's actually playing out like an episode with animation and everything. Then you have to remind yourself that no, that didn't happen. This is a fic. It's truly amazing when fics can invoke that much imagery and leave that much of an impression. For those who are wondering, this fic is not comic canon compliant, as many of the things that are being discussed here are actually given different rationales within the comic. As mentioned in our Korrasami update, which again, if you missed, click the card or link will be down below, not everyone makes the transfer over to a new medium, that being comics in this case. And so some of the information doesn't make it over to all the rest of the fandom, or some don't give it the same weight of depth. Also, some just want to work within their own headcanons, and that's perfectly fine too. The pairing in this one is intriguing, Azula and Katara. For those who are fans of Zuko and Katara, Azula and Katara has a lot of the same appeal. So if you were willing to give Zutara a chance, then this might appeal to you as well. But that is not to say they are completely the same. These characters have a different dynamic and a different history, so it's fascinating to see them have to overcome that. And of course, for those who liked that dichotomous nature of their elements, that's still there. While this fic is mostly about Azula growing and changing as a person, it's also about how the people around her have to as well in order to facilitate this change. If people don't believe in her and help her out, then there's no way that she can become the good person that they all hope that she can be. There's a lot going on in this fic. It's longer, but totally worth it. So if all of this sounds interesting to you, then please do check it out. And of course, thanks so much for the rec. So this has been Femslash Fic Rec Friday. I hope that you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Femslash for everyone. Do you want to do this again? Do you need even more Femslash all the time? And of course, leave more themes that you'd like down below. I'm still going to do the ones that are completely random, but it's fun to have a theme in there every now and again. Still random fandoms, but slightly organized. We're gonna do all the things on Fic Rec Friday. There are so many fics out there. So please keep leaving all of your recs down below. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing fanfics with me. If you check any of these out, let me know what you think. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. There will be another Fic Rec next week, and of course, many more vids coming soon. I, as always, appreciate the time you've given me today, and until next time, let's get to that outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so until then, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.